Welcome all to episode 194 of the Xbox Expansion Pass, recorded on September 10th, 2023. I am your co-host, Captain Logan, and normally I would be joined by Lohr. He would be the one doing this interview. However, he has lost his voice. I don't know how. I don't know why. I'm pretty sure I could guess, but we're going to keep this pretty clean as much as possible. So I'm fortunate to have none other than PS Trophy Room's Mr. Badbit, Joseph Moran. How are you doing today, sir?
2 times in 1 month? What's going on, you guys?
I know. It's kind of like it's busy for him, and internet is mean to me.
Yeah, seriously. So it's like real life's mean to him, internet's mean to you. Yeah. It's kind of like, it's copacetic. It's nice.
I appreciate you being willing to jump on to do this, because originally, like, Luke was like, I have no voice, I feel sick. Yeah. What do you want to do? And I was like, you know what? I don't want to put any pressure on you. I just want you to relax, enjoy this weekend. We'll catch up next week. And he's like, okay. And you came out of the woodwork and was like, hi, I'm a professional podcaster. Would you gentlemen like to have an episode this week? And we're like, yes, senpai, please help make episode.
So. Yeah. I mean, listen, I don't want you guys, it's the peak of like Xbox, I guess hype, where like Starfield's out. And I don't want you guys to miss out because, Luke's extracurricular activities that include sucking golf balls through garden hoses is going to keep you guys, out
friendly
of an
reminder.
episode.
Yeah. Friendly reminder. Please make sure that you take your vitamin C's, make sure that you sanitize the end of hoses, make sure that you're washing your hands frequently. COVID is still out there. It's not nearly as dangerous as it was a few years ago, but this was the first year I got it, and it sucked.
Humble brag. I just tested today because my mom had it, and COVID negative, baby. Look at that.
This is Miss Badbit getting out there.
I don't know how no one got it in our house. Like no one but her. Because she was careless. That being said, too, for the video watchers, you might be saying to yourself, wait, what's with this backdrop? It says trophy room and all the things. Listen, I didn't get any of the assets for the Xbox expansion pass, so consider this free promotion.
Well, in this week's episode, we're going to be talking about Starfield. We are going to be talking about the latest update to Xbox consoles, the Tokyo Game Show that's coming up. We're also going to be talking about Indiana Jones. And then we have a couple smaller stories that we might get into as well, too. So before we get into that, we always like to start this week off with words of kindness. Joseph, I wanted to toss it to you, sir. Do you have anyone that you want to share your words of kindness with?
Yeah. What are their names in Starfield? The ship technicians, right? That make it that you could customize your ship and its name. I think that adds an extra level of immersion. I've been lucky enough to get 2 ships for free, and they're both fantastic, by the way.
Nice.
So make sure you're doing all those side quests. I'm not going to even give you the names. Just do all the side content. And because of the nice ship technician, I was able to rename my ships Luke's Mom 1 and Luke's Mom version 2. So there's an A side and a B side,
Now I assume you've been putting those two, Luke's Mom and Luke's Mom version 2, through their paces.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And listen, she's a big broad, but she gets through all, like, there's been multiple ships that come at her at once, and she's taken it all in stride.
Are you smuggling anything in her or in them? Sorry.
You could be, listen, Luke's Mom version 2. She's got a large trunk space, if you know what I mean. So you could store so many things. I want to shout out to the adoring fan, aka Luke Lohr, who is in my crew, for knowing where he belongs, and that is in the cargo hold. He doesn't get to be with anybody else. He's in the engine. He knows where he knows his place. I like that.
Oh my God. Okay. So for this week, I wanted to thank you for stepping up. Honestly, my words of kindness. I've had some folks kind of, I had a really good weekend last weekend, being able to go to anime convention, talking to Sissy Jones. And I want to thank her for just the time that she spent talking to me about some of the AI stuff that she's on the front of for voice actors that we'll get into this episode a little bit this week as well. But I wanted to thank you, because if it weren't for you right now, we wouldn't be having an episode this week. And I just want Luke to remember that when you start to bag on him on Trophy Room.
I feel like that's just the cost. That's just the cost of doing business. You know, he gets to hear 45 to maybe an hour's worth of me ragging on him. And, he'll appreciate it, I think.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure he'll probably love this. As with every episode, we shout out the patrons, the tier 2 and tier 3 shout outs. If you guys want to be on this list, there's an easy way to do it. Head over to patreon.com/Xbox Expansion Pass. You can support this content. It helps pay for Zencaster when Joe has to help out. It helps pay for the services that we try to use to try and put this content together. It's not easy to do. It does take a couple hands to be able to get all this worked out, and your support goes a long way to kind of help with those causes, because unfortunately the jobs that we do will help, but it's usually a lot easier if a lot of people help with a little bit, as opposed to one big person. I mean, I would love to, if there's a sugar daddy out there, we can make that tier. We can make a sugar daddy tier. That's easy.
I'll be a sugar
but I want to Joe, I know that last week Luke kind of let you know about the lip syncing, and if you want to do that, you're more than welcome to. I'm not going to pressure you, because I know Luke loves it, and anything that you do to kind of like rub against him or his mom always is expected, or at least understood. So I want to shout out to Robbie Bobby Miller, Silent Cypher, Xbox Skittle, Steel Rain, Matto 1606, Randall Thor 19, Silkenit, Rick Gaffney, Zach LeCourtour, African aka Charles Jones, Game Positive, Jam Pack Sam, Matt Valdez, Neo Prime 33, Rick Davis, Red Beast, Xbox Mike 29, the Lord Sir Master James Suddy, Brendan Myers aka The Winter Gamer, Sony's VP of Marketing, Kevin Butler, Clint Coombs, DJ Hero, and Dano12. Thank you all so much for your love and your support. And just a reminder, we do actually have the Tier 3 Xbox wrap-up episode for September. That's out. Luke and I did get to actually spend quite a bit of time recording and talking just about games in general, but also Starfield had a really good in-depth thing there. And speaking of Starfield, Joe, Starfield had 6 million unique players this week, and we got a concurrency on launch of 1 million players. I know you've been playing a fair amount of it, and I've been playing a ton of it. I wanted to get your thoughts on it. You've had some time now with it a little bit more. We were just talking before the show about you potentially looking to get a Series S so that you can play when you're away from your home console version of it.
Never play at work. I would
never play at work. Never disrespect work that way.
Yeah, very responsible.
Always on breaks during lunches only. That's the best time to be playing if you have to be at work. So knowing that, I'm curious, what do you think of Starfield now? Like a little time removed away from the launch of it. How are you feeling about it?
So I have put, it's great that now we're talking about this, because, at the first week, it was me and Luke and I had like 5-ish hours between both of us into this game. And now it's like a week after the fact, and I have put roughly around 25 to 28 hours into this game. So quite a bit of time I've been spent on Starfield. And, one person said it kind of right. I'm still there where I was, a week ago, which is like, I can see 7s for this game. I could see the 9s for this game. Like, I could see the complaints that some people are having with the game, but I can also see the praise. And to me, Starfield, I feel like for some of the folks that may have been disappointed with it are probably disappointed because it doesn't have the exploration rewards that I think so many of us kind of want to see, or we've gotten to see from games like, you know, Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, where it's really the environments that are giving you the water cooler moment. And though there's some of that in Starfield, it's just not enough. Like the world's, for lack of better words, like kind of just seem flat and barren. And to me, I think where you're going to get the reward out of it is through the exploration of the lore and of the side missions, the side content that really do fill out the world. So to me, it's not about like, oh, I was running, you know, and all of a sudden a dragon appeared. It's actually the side content of like someone stopped me in my tracks. They asked me to go find this random cave. And in this random cave, you know, met A, B, and C, and I had to fight it. Right. Or I got this really exclusive, like cool gun. It's in those moments where Starfield really shines. I feel like I have not met a character that I hated for the sake of they were written poorly. Like each character, no matter if it's like a small part to play in the overarching story, I feel like they are a living thing within this universe, right? Like it's not written haphazardly. And it's through those stories that I'm getting lost in. And yeah, like some of them could be very like, I could see where this is going, but you're enjoying the ride as you're going through it. So for me, that's what is getting me lost in Starfield. It's not so much the exploration of like, let me go, you know, surf the stars. It's really, I'm kind of thinking of it like I'm the Mandalorian. I go from one job to the next, and I'm just hunting down who I need to hunt down. So I'm getting lost in like the role play and the story aspects rather than the worlds themselves. Because I'll be honest, some of the worlds kind of forgettable. And so for me, it's really about what I'm doing, the agency that Starfield gives me is where this game really shines, and I am absolutely in love with it. Like I've put almost 30 hours in this game and I still really haven't touched the main missions of this game.
Oh man. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try and do my best not to do too much spoilery stuff.
Let's keep it spoiler free.
Yeah.
Let's keep it.
I'll try to keep it because I don't want to ruin it for anyone.
Don't even tell me mission names. I don't even want to know it.
So there is one achievement that I do think I want to talk to people after they've gotten this achievement, and it's called a high price to pay. I won't say anything else.
Okay.
But if you have that achievement, I want to talk to you because there's spoiler stuff that is tied around that time frame that if you've hit it, I would love to know what your experience was because mine was emotional. I'm at 74 hours, Joe, and I have been spending so much of my time, pretty much every day. I'm going in and I'm doing exactly what you're talking about. I'm enjoying myself, going from small mission to small mission. I have spent my time shipbuilding. I've got a ship that I'm very happy with right now. It's long, it's impressive, and I've got a couple outposts and a couple small mining rigs that I've set up around Aquila. Because I've noticed with the outpost building that a lot of it is dependent on very specific types of minerals, and I've been getting frustrated because there's ways to like interlink the resources that you mine on different planets when you have outposts, and all of that system is very complex. It is very hard for me to kind of grasp like what's an output, how do I delete an output link, how do I use the right cargo link? Should I be using an interstellar cargo link? Do I have the tungsten for this? Where do I find tungsten? And I'm getting a little deep in the weeds on that to the point where I feel like I need to have a freaking spreadsheet to be able to do this. But I absolutely love it because I will go and work on that for a little bit. Like I'll get some minerals. I'll start, like hopping from planet to planet. And what you said about the planets being kind of forgettable is not untrue because there is a mission where you have to go and rescue someone, and you have an opportunity to visit them again. And I can't for the life of me remember what the name of the planet was that they were on. So they are forever stranded on this island.
Rip.
I have no idea what's going to happen to them. Hopefully I don't find them like randomly and they're like, oh, hey, glad to see you finally made it back. And we're like, oh, this is awkward. It's been like 5 years. How have you survived?
Yeah.
Tom Hanks, I did. That's what it was. I left Tom Hanks on a moon somewhere and I can't remember where. It was Apollo 13. I'm sorry. So I've been having a ton of fun with that. And one of the things that I think I found with this game is that everyone's experience is slightly similar to each other's, but I have not run into anyone that has had the exact same experience.
Yeah.
And I've really appreciated that from the game. The things that I think have kind of been a little draining on me is I've been a little disappointed with a couple of the systems, but most recently I've noticed that relationships are not where I thought they would be when it came to like flirting and romancing and stuff like that. You and I are big fans of Cyberpunk. We've had a lot of time spent on Cyberpunk. We've been huge proponents of the game and its world. There's been a lot of comparisons lately of folks kind of comparing like Neon to Night City, and I just don't think that that's a fair comparison given the scope of the games. Yeah. But I wanted to bring up the conversation with you. You've played through Cyberpunk, and I know that you've had multiple romances through there. How are you feeling about romances in Starfield? Do you feel like they compare well? Do you think that that's a point that Bethesda could improve upon, given your experience with Cyberpunk and like Baldur's Gate recently?
Good question. Again, I think the strength of all these games is that all their characters are written so damn well. I am trying to romance Andrasia because I am a man of culture. And she got very pretty eyes. But more than that, I feel like it's kind of like the typical Bethesda nature of like romances. So like Bethesda has like a little like Bethesda flair to them that they just, I don't know. It feels like, yeah, this is a Bethesda joint when you're talking to a man, when you're trying to romance them. Whereas like Cyberpunk, I also chose Judy because I am a woman of culture in that game. And so like, to me, I found the level of writing in Cyberpunk, this is where I become like a Cyberpunk stan, is some of the best writing in a video game. I'll just say that. Like character writing as well. Like most of these characters are just so damn good. Where I was having a talk with our friend Ainsley Bowden over at the Season Gaming, and he said he almost left his wife because because it just felt so real, that his relationship with Judy just felt, more compelling.
Yeah.
It's not true. But to me, it's like, yeah, I think there's something about the relationships in Cyberpunk where they felt a bit more authentic, if that makes sense. And how they would talk to you felt a little bit more authentic in that regard. But it's not like this game is hindered by it. I just think that Baldur's Gate, in terms of like writing, Baldur's Gate and Cyberpunk are just on another level. They're all great. It's just it's kind of like Coke and Cherry Coke.
Yeah,
they're both great. One's just a little better.
So I want to dig a little bit deeper onto this, but I don't obviously spend forever on this. But one of the things that I've noticed in watching people play Baldur's Gate 3 and people, and in my experience with Cyberpunk, is a lot of it comes down to what you're presented visually, which obviously doesn't help folks that have vision impairments. Which, surprise, you guys actually don't need glasses. I want to bring up the fact that with Bethesda, you've always kind of got that front on 3-point lighting with the character, and they're never really that they're emotive, but they're not emoting in a way that really conveys the feeling that is being said. And I agree with you. I think the voice acting and I think the writing is killer with Starfield. I think they've absolutely done a fantastic job with all of the characters that I've listened to. All of them have realistic breaths or moments, expressions through frustrations, things like that they've done with the actual voice work. But I'm not feeling that when I'm looking at this character in front of me, and I'm wondering if maybe that is the difference between these games as far as like their interactions with people and evoking those emotions. Would you agree or would you disagree on that?
Yeah, I think I think you kind of hit the nail on the head of that. So I would agree 100%. I know I've sounded very unconfident there, but yeah, I agree.
I usually think of the interactions that I've had with Judy in Cyberpunk. They always seem to be very, very laid back and very kind of like, she'll get up and shift around the room as you're kind of talking with her. And you see that a lot with Cyberpunk. And I would wish that Bethesda, and to their credit, Outer Worlds does this too. But I think Bethesda style RPGs are a little too locked in on their characters when you're looking at them and having conversation. I wish that there was a little more free form movement for the animators to be able to actually use the full body when it comes to expressing emotion, because we do that as humans. And I think that translation, if that criticism could be levied towards Starfield, I think that's the main one that I'm rubbing up against right now.
Yeah, to me, my biggest complaint with Starfield, other than I can't actually park my damn spaceship or break it to the atmosphere, is probably the encumbrance. Just that alone is it's when I first started playing, I was like, let's see how annoying this could get. And then the first hour, I was like, this is pretty annoying. And now I'm at hour like again like 25 or 28 around there. And I'm like, this is only getting worse. Like and I feel like a fast fix would be, hey, all the minerals and shit that I have in my pockets, how about we nerf the weight of them significantly so that I can pick up more than 5 things. Even like my ship, just like I feel like that would help storage a great deal. I think it comes down to Starfield's maybe biggest sin is the skill tree isn't improving you. It just feels like it's getting the basic things unlocked for you. And that's a bit of a bummer.
Yeah, no, I definitely see the criticism there, and I don't disagree. I hate encumbrance. I've told the Obsidian devs this personally, that I hope that that's not a system that they continue with Outer Worlds 2.
Laying down the character sucks. Stop doing that. I'm already holding 4 guns. It's already not real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, just let me have a big backpack. Who cares?
It's something that, like, I understand that this is a staple of the franchise or of the studio, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it is the correct path. One of the things that I think I love about other franchises in the industry is that they're willing to let go of tropes or mannerisms. Crouching is not sneaking. Crouching is just you walking weird. There's a reason why Pedro Pascal was like, I'm too old to be crouching around in the Last of Us show. It's just not realistic. So I would love for there to be a way to actually like address sneaking better than what we're currently doing, because I don't think that the crouch mechanic is a sufficient enough mechanism, and we just haven't come up with a better way of doing it yet.
And the thing that annoys me, again, it's maybe the biggest pain point of Starfield is like, in Skyrim you have the meter over their head, right? Of like, hey, they're about to notice you, maybe you slow down. In Starfield, you have to unlock that. I think that's so dumb. It's like, this has been a staple throughout all your games, and I have to unlock that. No, that's silly. So like, again, there's just some things that I feel like it's almost like locked behind a paywall. Like just some basic features are locked behind me having to spend a skill tree. Like, for example, there are some skills in the science, I think, one that I don't want to unlock, but I feel like I have to, just in order for me to mod my weapons more. It's like, come
yes,
on.
yeah.
You don't like my guy doesn't understand how to put an ACOG scope and a grip on his rifle. Like, like he doesn't know that two things could go on a gun. It's like, how do I put a scope and a bayonet on my gun? It breaks their brain until I spend 4 levels. Come on, it's stuff like that.
I want to say that a lot of the things that we're talking about are the nitpicks in this game. Because again, I'm 74 hours into this. You're 30 hours into this. We're spending the time and really loving it. There's a point where I will have to say that I most definitely see this being a solid 8 for me.
Ooh, okay.
And I
know
haven't
you were
completed.
a little bit lower.
Son of a gun. Listening to Luke too much. So no, I've hit some major story points again that I don't want to spoil because they were so good that I was like, man, that was really well done. I'm glad that I haven't like done a full review because I haven't made it through the story yet. I haven't made it through the end. I haven't seen credits yet, but there have been some fantastic story twists in this game that I think really does service the characters that you're around well. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those moments where it was emotional. It was very exciting to be able to go through all of that. And at the end of the day, I think more studios need to be willing to cross the boundary of what is expected. I think I see this in other games, but not too often. Especially with TV shows. Shows always are always subject to like Mary Sue's or Superman type characters that have just plot armor that they're always going to be around. And I love it when shows like Game of Thrones come in or like Andor, where they're willing to do stuff that is more living within that gray zone. And I think Starfield has moments like that where it lives in the gray and it's willing to do stuff that is morally questionable, but ultimately a decision that you have to make. And I've really appreciated that.
Yeah. Where I'm currently landing, where my head is at the moment. Again, I can see all the criticism and I can see all the praise. And I'm definitely around where you're at right now, where it's like, listen, Starfield ain't a 10, like it's got flaws and that's okay. And I could see where, again, people go and they rate it like a 7. I totally see that. I'm in this weird place where I'm like, to me right now, again, haven't beaten it, but like it's living in, if I had to give it a numerical score, it's living in an 8.5 for me. Like this is like, it's really good, but there are just some weird decisions in terms of how they explain or don't explain certain systems. It's really good. And I am going to be, rolling credits on this game. And this is a game that, listen, I'm a PlayStation guy. It's put an Xbox controller in my hand. It's made me forget. I have not turned my PlayStation on in almost a week. God. And I got the Spider-Man one. Okay. I only turned it on to
crazy.
Up to, so like I'm telling you, it's ripped me away. It's done what it's needed to do. So like I'm thoroughly enjoying my time. And I think when you get better ships, when you get to create your own and you're battling through the cosmos, those parts are real. Like when you figure out how space combat works, holy crap, is it so much fun. The combat where people feel like it needs to evolve, maybe put in a slide mechanic, maybe that's locked in a skill tree. But like, honestly, the shootings never felt better in a Bethesda title. There's a lot of refinements that Bethesda has done with this game that I really appreciate. So to me, I kind of think this is, it's not Skyrim for me. Skyrim is a game that is one of my favorite RPGs of all time, but like, this is definitely sitting right below it. I think it's a really great game that y'all need to play. I can't wait to get to those story beats that you're telling me about, because I've experienced what, Luke and I were talking about, the horror elements. Yeah. I think those
I didn't have that.
Awesome. Oh, dude, when you get to those
that
moments,
at all.
Again, it's all about the side content. I didn't stumble in it because I was exploring Mars, I stumbled on it because I took this mission. So, it's it's a really great game, and I love to see its success at 6 million players within just the first week. And 1 million concurrent, that is nuts. I think I think only PUBG in terms of just Steam has been able to do that. I think, like somewhere close to. So like, that's a huge number that Microsoft has hit. I hope it's everything that they've wanted, because it's, this is it. This is awesome. So yeah, I'm loving Starfield, y'all. Loving it.
Hogwarts Legacy came close with about 880,000 concurrents.
There you go. So, take that, JK. We really showed her.
I hate her. Oh God, I hate her so much for ruining everything I've loved about the freaking wizarding world. God, can't you just be a decent human being?
That's right.
So to kind of bounce off on that into one of our questions, Matthew Kennedy wrote a very nice question for us and says, hey, saw Luke posted questions for the show over on Twitter/X, but there isn't enough characters. So sorry for being a little long-winded, but I wanted to give so much history and context. So here goes. I wrote this exact question to the Nerd Chat Xbox crew when the IGN score came out, and I wanted to ask us on XEP. So a little context. Matthew Kennedy is a huge Bethesda fan. They went out and got a gaming laptop and a Series S and X just so they can play Starfield and all future Bethesda titles. So with all that said, here is their question. They know that a lot of us probably aren't guys that base all our games, video game experiences over critic scores. They got into a friendly debate with a friend not too long ago who thought Starfield was going to score in the mid to high 90s on Metacritic. They politely argued back that you rarely see massive on open world games score that high, let alone a Bethesda game. For reference, Fallout 4 was in the mid 80s. And Matthew can't imagine 76 or Fallout 76 in the original PC. 360 and PS3 scores for Skyrim were definitely in the 90s, but that's going back over a decade. Matthew's guess was that it would be at 84 when all was said and done, which is still actually a little bit lower than where it did land up. That is a comfortable place where your most recent massive open world Bethesda games sit. So he's curious, seeing the scores, are you genuinely disappointed? He's still incredibly hyped to play this game for years to come, and they could definitely care less about the scores. But when this and Redfall were supposed to be tentpole games for the Xbox ecosystem, do those numbers fall short for us? Especially since Xbox is like my main console, one of your side consoles.
Yeah. So I'm looking at it right here. I'm just trying to get it here. Okay. I got the PC version. So currently Elder Scrolls Skyrim is Bethesda's best game in terms of critically reviewed at a 94. That's 100% where I'd put it. Skyrim is, for all the bugs, and I think, again, this is also 10 plus years ago. I know we're all feeling old now. So there was less review sites actually reviewing games, which means your scores are going to be skewed dramatically higher because of that. So that being said, Fallout 4, 88, still a great score. And from where I get my data from, which is OpenCritic, Starfield's sitting right now currently at a 87. These are all really great scores to have. If you're any studio, no matter who you are, you're happy of that score, right? What people really need to understand is, as there are more content creators and more outlets, there's just more coverage of games now than ever, more reviews than ever. It's going to be harder and harder to get that 95 plus. Your game has to do something pretty gosh dang amazing to reach that. And luckily, 2023, we've been blessed with many titles. This is an outlier year that have reached high 80 to low 90 right? And like Baldur's Gate and Tears of the Kingdom scoring 95s, 96s. They're impeccable games. So I would want to just again stress that like review scores aren't everything, especially because now there's more of them than ever. So you actually get to go out there and find a reviewer that fits your play style and that fits your taste of game, right? So I know I have a few. I know Dan Stapleton, respect, he's been on the show. Probably isn't my guy that I'm gonna go for, but like I'm gonna probably go for Skilled Up, right? But there is someone out there that does really like Dan Stapleton reviews, really jive with them. You know, they're like, oh, we're into the similar games. So his review is going to speak to someone out there, right? So you have the great opportunity here in 2023 to find the reviewers you respect and admire, their opinions, and you get to go out there and assess that way. These big like amalgamation of like numbers, you know, like aren't a good indicator of quality of a game. You know, I know Luke is like, I love sevens. I'll be swimming in sevens. I mean, yeah, just because a game rates a 7 doesn't mean it's bad. It means it's good. You know, just because a game rates a 6 doesn't mean it's bad. It means it's okay. And I'm actually one that I feel that we need to explore that scale much more. So to me, I don't view Metacritic as a success of almost any kind. It's only a success for developers if their game hits that level, or if their bonuses are somehow tied to the reviews of these things. So to me, if I'm Bethesda and I'm looking at it right here, right now, and I'm like 87, that's great. 6 million people are playing my game this week. That's amazing. And that's probably the only metric they truly care about. So no matter how you skew it, it's things are looking good. Look, in PlayStation land, not everything is going to be a 9 or a 10, right? We're cursed with 88s. Our games always get somewhere in the range of 88. And that's fine, cuz to me at the end of the day, eight's a great number. So I get it. People get lost in the sauce because they want to see the accolades of numbers behind the, you know, the stock image, but it's a great game. And I feel like with Game Pass, it kind of removes the necessary need of, you know, looking at a Metacritic, because you could be like, okay, it's a 70, whatever. It's on Game Pass. Let me just try it for 15 minutes. Right.
Yeah.
Or, oh, cool, this game's a 90. Let me check it out and see for myself where this game's going to fall. So that's where I'm kind of at, man. I think you guys are pretty blessed over here at the Xbox land, because you guys do have Game Pass. It kind of does eliminate the need for really skulking through and seeing what reviews are going to hit for you, because you guys get to kind of try it and drop it if you don't like it.
I also want to call out and expand upon what you just said, because I think because of Game Pass, there's less pressure on launches. If anything, the pressure on launches is how will it compare to Sony, and not how will it do as a game, because I think Sony tends to have to live off of those big launches and the hype that builds up to those. Because it is a cost factor, especially for a lot of. That was nice. That was smooth for the listeners. You have no idea the acrobatics.
The fan was making noise, so I had to go to the switch and kind of, yeah.
You did it well. I appreciate it. Sony fans have to really kind of live and die off of, you know, selling that $70 game. There's not a day one subscription price that you can pay to be able to get the big titles, which I you know, after listening to the trophy room this week, I agree with you that I don't think that type of development cycle is sustainable. I think that we do need to make shorter games that are more accepted in a AA capacity at a cost that still, you know, is roughly around what a AAA game would be, and know that, there's room in that marketplace. It doesn't have to be a $1 billion production game for it to succeed. It can still be a small title.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes Game Pass really a pretty lucrative thing, where like you can have like a game that's like Outer Worlds 2 be pretty darn successful. It's a smaller RPG, but it knows what it wants to be. I feel like in the next few years, games are really going to need to know what they are in the project side of things. When you're getting it off the ground, what is this thing attempting to do? And kind of limiting its scope from the gate, because you're right, a lot of these games are trying to do so much. I always put up Valhalla as the example, because I think it's the perfect one, where it's like, this game is 100+ hours of content. Holy, that's a whole bunch of stuff. And as budgets balloon, how do you make that game, And listen, Starfield can be a 100-hour game, but it can also be a 15-20-hour game. So it's one of those things where when we're starting to look at review scores, where we're talking about games, is I feel like the only reason why Metacritic matters at the end of the day is it's an easy number for one person to shove in the face of another person to tell them they're wrong, right? And at the end of the day, I don't use that metric, because I don't care. Like Starfield could have rated that 7 across the board. I'm like, well, curiosity and $15 a month tells me I should see what this is all about, So
yeah, no, and I agree. I think it's a good baseline, and I think it's a good way to really kind of determine, is this a high enough score that it falls within the range of you showing interest to look into it yourself. Anything below a 7, chances are I'm probably not going to give much attention to, unless there's a lot of groundswell from the community saying that this game deserves better. And I think that's a mindset that I go into. If it's above a 7, then I'm most definitely going to give it some time to research it, look into the reviews, and actually, think about like, okay, well, is this something that I want to look into? And some of the games that are coming out on Game Pass this week are games that I think are in that territory. This week, we've actually got Solar Ash and Lies of P alongside Starfield coming out. Solar Ash being Heart Machine's third game after Heartlight Breaker or Hyperlight Breaker and Hyperlight Drifter. This is the first 3D game that they've made. And Lies of P coming out, a Pinocchio themed Souls game. Very much what I think you are into for as far as like actual gameplay style. So are you excited to jump onto Lies of P? Are you going to pick it up on Game Pass, or are you going to pick it up on PlayStation?
Great question. It depends on if I get a code or not. But from what I've been hearing, this is going to be my game. So this is, if there ever would be and will be a Bloodborne sequel, this is what this game, this is it. This is the spiritual sequel to Bloodborne. I just hate the theme. I think Pinocchio's, I could curse because I get to bleep it, fucking lame. So that's the only thing that depresses me, is like, oh God, Geppetto's in this. That weirdo. Like, I don't want him anywhere near me. So I always think of the Family Guy skit with the lying thing. Anyway, look it up, kids. But I'm really excited for Lies of P. I think even like now that they're starting to really ramp up what this game is, it's looking more and more like this is Bloodborne 2, and I am. And it doesn't feel like it's like Bloodborne at home, like this just, or we have Bloodborne at home kids, like this feels competent. So I am
very excited.
Really, I'm really interested to see if the studio is able to deliver on this game. And from that demo and the way they've talked to us, it seems like they can. They have a really bright future, really bright.
Yeah, it's one of those ones that I remember seeing when they first announced it and thinking that is a Dark Souls Bloodborne game if I ever saw one. Mm-hmm. I personally have no problem with Geppetto. I think that's a Pinocchio, all that's fine with me. Yeah. I think the interesting thing here is that this is going to be given an opportunity to shine with Game Pass that it's very much in the way that Outriders had an opportunity to really kind of show like what a Destiny like could be from another studio. And I think that Outriders did a lot of things right, even if they didn't necessarily execute perfectly on the performance level of the game.
Yeah.
So Liza P coming out, I believe it's on the 16th. I think it's on the 16th.
I think 16th or 19th, but I'll check for you.
It is the 16th. We
16th?
got it. We got it down below. Yeah, I just got to scroll. Solar Ash coming out this week, as well as License P. I'm wondering.
Listen, I hate to call you a liar, but it is September 19th.
Is it September 19th?
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Did it get delayed? That's crazy. Okay. I in our little breakdown at the bottom of our show notes, it has 16th, and I could have swore I saw that on there. And of course I forgot to put the link to the actual.
How dare you, dude? How dare you?
The actual article.
There is, like I said, if you get the deluxe version, you get 72 hours of early access.
Oh, okay. That's a topic for another day, because I want to get into that. But this is kind of capping off the rest of September outside of the Cyberpunk DLC that's coming. Joe, do you think we're going to get anything new at Xbox Tokyo Game Show on the 21st?
Yeah, you're going to get a ton of stuff, I think.
Yeah. Are there franchises from Japan that are on Sony that you think will make it its way to Xbox with
100? I think we talked a little bit about it. I talked about it with Luke a few weeks back, but you're definitely gonna get like your Final Fantasies on here. You're gonna probably get like an Octopath level of like, it's coming to Xbox.
Finally get the two.
Yeah, the pixel remasters like coming to Xbox. So I think Square Enix is gonna be there in a really big way, and I think you're gonna see more, Atlas and Sega on that Xbox stage. I think Xbox is doing everything they can to make a dent in that Japanese market. I am just still of the mind that this is not so much a play for Japan more than a play for people that play Japanese developed games in Western territories. More so. So it's really to get people going. I would, or it's like the people that like, I'll buy my PlayStation for Final Fantasy. No, they want you not to do that. So that's kind of where I think their angle is here. Because to me, even like PlayStation seemingly kind of dropped Japan as like this market that is powerful.
They shuttered a bunch of their studios over there.
Yeah, Japan studio. Rip.
Yeah.
So to me, I feel like, listen, I personally have been very disappointed with how PlayStation is viewed, literally the home country. But it really seems like the Switch is just the mainstay of Nintendo's presence is just felt. So
yeah, I do think the portability of the Switch has overtaken the gaming market over in Japan. I just think that,
and I think Xbox's play needs to be. And I hear the internet's way better over there, right? But like their play really ought to be cloud. Like I better see tablets on there, phones. People got them over there. Like put that in the demo, in the kiosks. That's what I feel like needs to happen.
It's interesting too, because recently I've started seeing this more and more. I know Jess Corden talked about this. I've seen a couple friends mention this, but Xbox has been having some queue times with xCloud, upwards of 30 minutes to be able to play a specific game. Very interesting to see why that is an issue now. Maybe there's more adoption due to that being a thing. I did want to ask, and forgive me if this was brought up last week and I just don't remember it. Do you think that we will get any word from Kojima about his game?
No, that will be on an official Xbox stage.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, that will 100% be. I mean, I would be surprised and I would love it. I'm a newfound Kojima fan, but like that's something I think that is something for whatever they do, the fan fest and the Xbox showcase. Like that's huge. Yeah.
Okay. I always thought that this would be a great opportunity for him to kind of be spearheading Xbox's drive for Japanese marketplace, and having that at Tokyo Game Show would be kind of a nice olive branch to the market to be like, hey, by the way, this man that you all love is working on an Xbox game, and maybe potentially having some help with Mina Sato Kato, I think is how do you say it? Her or joining Xbox may help kind of usher in some of that. The one thing that isn't Japanese based that I'm very interested in actually deals more with punching Nazis. Which is always a fun thing. I wanted to bring up Indiana Jones just real quickly. In an Esquire interview with Todd Howard, he teased that in 2024, we would probably start to actually see more about the Indiana Jones game that Machine Games is working on currently, with the fanfare that's coming in from Starfield. It would be great to see another game from Machine Games, and to have it be an Indiana Jones game. Joe, I'm an old. I was there back in the day when, River Phoenix was still alive and young Indiana Jones. I love Indiana Jones as an actual IP. I get that it's not relevant nowadays, and that that bums me out. But
it hurts my soul, dude. I love the guys. I love Indiana Jones. I love Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
it's my IP, and it bums me out that like Dial of Destiny, which was a good flick, did not do good.
Yeah,
makes me sad.
And I think it's time that we, much like how Spider-Man gets reboots every few years because Sony licensing and stuff. I do think Indiana Jones deserves to have a reboot. I think we could do a new Indiana Jones movie with a new Indiana Jones and accept the fact that Harrison Ford is done with the role. But to get into the news here, Todd Howard teasing that 2024 is probably when we'll actually see the full reveal for Indiana Jones. Bethesda themselves, very much of the nature that they don't like to talk about a game until they're actually ready to actually launch it. Most of their games usually come out around 3 to 6 months after launch. I think Starfield is the one exception, and I think that's a lot of mostly like Xboxes, kind of them being like, hey, take your time, make sure this is polished, kind of thing. Do you think that Machine Games is done with this, that they're getting close to finishing up and that it'll come in 2024? Do you think this is going to be a 2025 game?
I know that it was kind of all hands on deck to get Starfield out. So I know like probably I know Machine Games was on it. Arcane was working on it a bit. So I think for the most part, we're going to start hearing about this game really soon. If it is in that 6-month window, I would love it. I don't know if that's going to be the case anymore. But I would really love to see it. I think, to me, what is the most interesting is if you ask Luke where his parents were or his grandparents were when they fought the war, he gets really silent. He's like, can we just change the subject? He's like, I don't need to talk about that. He's like, they're from Argentina. And I'm like, really? Because you're blonde hair, blue eyes. And he's like, yeah, I'm part Argentina. Let's just shut up. Let's talk about something else.
It's so weird how many fights his grandfather lost. It's just a very interesting conversation to have.
It's really interesting. He gets really defensive about it. It's just, I don't know. What's he got to hide, I guess.
I'm glad that we're going to. If this is the case, I'm totally fine with.
Where was he on January 6th? He said he had a cold. He wouldn't.
It's I think he might be helping bail someone out right now. But I wanted to say that this coming out in 2024, a
personal hero of his.
Totally fine with this. 2025, I'm even happier if this waits till 2025, because that brings me to one of our other listener questions, which comes from Jam Pack Sam.
Okay.
Do you think we have too many games? Even just looking at the roster for October is insane, let alone thinking about January through December. Joe, how much time are you spending on games right now? And do you have enough time for those games?
Yo, real talk, my brain felt overwhelmed with this question. Yeah, there's too many games. holy crap, this year's been phenomenal. It's just been phenomenal. Look, Dead Space Remake was in the beginning of this year. I played Resident Evil 4 and I was like, wow, I don't know how a game tops this for my game of the year. And then like Jedi Survivor, Diablo, Zelda, Baldur's Gate, and Starfield happened. And I know I'm forgetting some. So it's like,
yeah.
Whew. Now, at the end of the day, though, I will say I am the most excited, of course, for Spider-Man, because that's my superhero. I'm going to be playing the shit out of Miles Morales. But yeah, there's so many games.
Are you excited to play more as Peter Parker or Miles Morales? I'm assuming Miles because of the Puerto Rican heritage there.
That's right.
Which I resonate with, and I'm kind of curious, like, are you going to be annoyed if you get, because there are certain story writers that do like one character up to a cliffhanger moment, and then they switch you over to the other character, and then you have to like wade your way through like the story till you get to another cliffhanger moment with that character, and then they switch you back, and you're like, oh, stop it, just let me enjoy the moment of having this like story point. Do you think they're going to do that with Spider-Man 2? Are you worried about that at all? You like that?
I think they are going to do that. I'm not worried about it because they heard about our issues with the Spider-Man PS4 when they switched us to Miles and MJ. So, those sections feeling like a slog. I think they're going to do something pretty, like, I feel Miles and Peter are going to play pretty similar to the point where it's like they pretty much have the same ultimate abilities, but they look different. That's what I'm going to probably think, because I think Miles has way more agency than we think, and I definitely think it's going to be a Metal Gear Solid 2 type of situation.
Ooh, so, I love Metal Gear Solid 2. God, that game was good.
I wish I knew. All I know is about the twist.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. You haven't played them.
I'm a fake gamer. Remember this, dude.
I will be very interested to hear.
But I should have been playing it.
I don't want to talk about how old I was when I was playing that.
33. I get it.
Oh God, stop. I'm very interested to see if you. I think you can skip 1. I think you should just jump straight into 2 when the remasters come out, because I think that game it's going to feel dated, but it was worth it for certain moments. Unfortunately, one of those was ruined for you the way that Final Fantasy VII was ruined for me. So all that said, I want to get back to the question here, because I feel like we detoured strong off of that one. I tangent a lot with podcasting. So
good. Let's just start questioning Luke's heritage again.
Yeah. 45 minutes of berating. This is what this was. Jam-Pack Sam, yes, there are too many games, but I'm very happy for that because I live and breathe off of bargains. I love that $10 to $15 sale on games, man. A year later, I will happily go out and buy that physical copy for $10 from Best Buy, because it feels so good to save money on that and know that it's only been like a year from the zeitgeist. That's the best part right now. It's like movies that come out 3 months after they've been in theaters. I'm like, I didn't have to waste that $30. I can watch it for free on the service I'm already paying for.
Exactly. So. Yeah. And knowing that like this game it's so close to like Black Friday.
Yeah.
Like half of those games I'm not worrying about, because I'm like, I know what my list is, right? So it's like Starfield, Liza P, Cyberpunk, right? Then after that, it's Mirage, Spider-Man. Then after that, everything else is a Black Friday sale. So like, to me, it's just like, I get to wait. I just get to wait. I buy my time,
And much like you, I too am. I'm waiting for Black Friday to see what kind of deals are, because I know like I will most definitely wait for some of those $10 deals where I can go and buy the hard copy and stick it in my Xbox Series X or my PlayStation 5 with disc and be able to play those games, which kind of falls in line with what I think Ryan Cohen, CEO of GameStop, says, which is all consoles should have disk drives as required. I see that as a big win for me when I want to buy games cheap. He says that consumers have also invested in their hard-earned money into physical video games. Disk drives should be required on consoles. According to GameIndustry.biz, they noted that at the end of 2022, that only about 28% of game consoles sold were boxed copies of the game, and that 72% were going towards digital purchases. Should GameStop stick to Pop's vinyl figures, or should they start continuing the drive for physical media? I have opinions on this. Joe, what do you think about GameStop's CEO Ryan Cohen
really
saying this?
sad when they go, dude. I was thinking about this the other day. I'm like, because I've gone to I've worked at this GameStop, I've shopped at this GameStop ever since I was 9 years old.
Yeah.
Right. Like I did work there against child safety laws, but like that was like my first real job was GameStop. So like a part of me is gonna be happy because they fired me. But secondly, I'm gonna be really sad because like that's where I buy all my stuff. And he's saying this in a terms of like, yeah, like of course he's saying this. He wants to stay in business. His business is going to falter. He needs to buy himself time. Of course he's going to say this as we're seeing, you know, the Series S and the PlayStation 5 is about to be revealed, or revision is about to be revealed, and it's going to be diskless. So of course they're saying all consoles should have a disk drive because they know, look at 72% of people bought digital. I'm one of those people. You know, I bought the PlayStation 5 with a disc, not because I wanted to, but because I didn't want to reward scalpers, right? So like, I'm not going to use that disk drive probably. So for me, I totally see what he's saying, but I also agree with it. Yeah, there should be more than one ecosystem when you're trying to buy your game, right? Because the mission of PlayStation and Xbox is to trap you into their ecosystems, so you're only dealing with them so that they're getting as much profit that they can from you. Because if they're buying from GameStop, GameStop's getting that cut. And if you're selling your game at GameStop and you're buying it used, they're not getting any of that money. So they'd rather you be locked in with Game Pass. They'd rather you be buying on the Xbox store, the PlayStation store. Because they want all of that profit. So I get what he's saying, but at the same exact time, people's internets, like, you know, yours last week and Kyle's always, isn't the best here. Right? So like we gotta listen, he's the one that complains about it. You know?
I have one weekend where I have a hiccup and they're out of and I'm out of internet for 24 hours. But and
some people don't have that, right? So like some people only got like DSL. So like to me, it's like, yeah, make it so that, you know, as long as the consumer has more options, that's always going to be the best scenario. So the too long didn't read that.
So I want to pivot this away from physical, because honestly, I'm both. I like physical. I just pre-ordered the physical Xbox edition with Steelbook for the Gargoyles remaster that's coming October 16th for $70. I'm taking that hit for you guys, Xbox fans, who are like, limited run games doesn't ever do Xbox. Why don't they do more Xbox? This is an opportunity for you to do this.
That's right.
But I will say that game is going to be $15 when it comes out. So you can most definitely play that for on the cheap. What I wanted to pivot this to, though, is that as someone who predominantly gets most of my purchases digitally, why aren't we working to develop more agency for consumers to give them rights and resell features for digital libraries? Why is everything tied to one account? Why can't I sell a digital copy of a game to someone else, or give them a digital game that I've purchased when I'm done with it? Why is it still tied directly to physical media that you have to hand over to someone? Why can't I do that digitally? That's what I want to know.
I mean, when we talk about like NFTs and all that stuff, like the metaverse, it's like they often sell you on you own your digital item, but they never be like, you know, you can't trade that item in. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like it gets into that NFT bro space, but I totally get where you're getting at. I'm somewhere along that lines as well. It's just like, well, I'm not using this anymore, so can I sell it to you? But I don't know. Even then, I don't.
Yeah,
I don't see it.
It's tough because I don't like the idea of NFTs in games. I'm I'm leaning into a realm where I'm like, there needs to be some sort of way that I can do something with the digital content that I've purchased 10 years ago that I don't care about anymore, that I can maybe make some money off of that. But I've done this in the past. For those of you that don't know, I once broke the terms and conditions of Blizzard, and I sold my World of Warcraft account that had, 4 or 5 collector's editions tied to it, and it was just one of those things. I sold the physical copies, I sold the account, and I gave someone all of that access. I just transferred all the information from me to them, and that was against terms of service. But why? Because I owned that content. I owned the collector's editions. Why was it that you could have the collector's editions for a game, but you couldn't access the content because it was tied to a specific account? I just want to be able to have a way for consumers to have more agency when it comes to this content, instead of not being able to access it because X company goes out of business and they shut down the servers, or it's against terms of service for the ecosystem that you're buying it through, and they won't let you transfer stuff. That, I think, is the way of the future. Much like how Netflix went from discs to streaming, I think GameStop should be putting their efforts into getting rid of box stores if it's going to be focused on physical media, unless it's going to be retro, in which case that should be a good path to go through, and does for many mom and pops, but also having a means of working on legislation to give consumers more agency. He talks about having consumers being invested in their hard-earned money into physical video games. Why don't we have that for digital games as well too? That was my main point about that.
Yeah. I think we talk about preservation and how much it sucks, and how this seemingly is the first library that's truly transcended ecosystems, but it needs to stay that way. It really does. And the day it doesn't, we're in big trouble. The day they start shutting off servers, which they already started, we're in big trouble. So I totally get the fear and the rationale there. I totally do. That said, when we talk about terms and services, Luke's great grandpa, almost broke the terms and services of the Treaty of Versailles, but that's a story for another day.
I have no control at this point.
Right.
The last couple things that I wanted to bring up real quick was that Mega Bloks, not Lego, has announced that they're making an Xbox 360 out of Mega Bloks. This is in conjunction with a lot of the Halo stuff that they've done. This is very much in line of Lego's creation that they did with the NES. I feel like there was another one that they did. Was it the Atari? And the
Perhaps
Pac-Man
I
arcade?
just remember the SNES.
Yeah,
you got the little Mario in it.
Yeah. So Mega announced that they're doing the Xbox 360. I think this is really cool looking. It's nice to see that there's little nostalgia trips out there for folks if they want to do that. I am very curious to know if, alongside the green rings that you can put on the little power ring, if they'll include red as well, just for authenticity. And just kind of see like where that's going. Do you collect any Lego stuff or Mega Bloks stuff? I know Luke does.
Yeah, I'm not a child like Luke. I'm a grown man. No, I kid because I really want the Ahsoka.
You see in the background here, I have a giant like Lego pirate thing.
That's true. No, I do hope it comes with like a fake penny that you get to put on the fake CPU. That'd be great. That would be really great.
Oh my gosh.
No, this is neat. This is real neat. It's not for me, but like, cute. It's cute.
Yeah. Very happy to see stuff like this pop out. The only other thing that I think I wanted to jump on was that Skull and Bones, the Creative Media Publishing Union, that's part of the Singapore's National Trade Union Congress, started a ballot for Ubisoft in Singapore to allow those that are eligible to vote on if they can become a union and unionize there. I think this is fantastic. It's really surprising to see, and the government actually stepping in, being like, hey, did you guys want to unionize? Because I think in the United States, it's up to the people at the studio to decide if they want to unionize, but to have a government backed thing to be like, hey, we're going to open this up. If they vote for it, you're going to have to honor it. Ubisoft came out with a pretty boilerplate answer on this. They said Ubisoft believes in the importance of listening to our employees, blah, 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 and fostering an open dialogue, blah, blah, blah. And we believe that we have appropriate mechanisms and initiatives in place to continue creating a great workplace. I think if that were the case, people wouldn't have to unionize. That has always been my standpoint on that. Joe, do you have any thoughts on unions?
Yeah, maybe they should talk to their female employees about that. Creating a great place to work. No, first off, very pro union. I used to be in a union. It was great. It treated me right. So, I'm going to be very biased here and say, you know what? They take like $50 out of my paycheck, but I get sick leave because of it. So that's great. And health benefits because of it. And I think that's great too. So that said, though, this is going to be a bummer when the studio gets closed down, because let's be real. They just lost their third creative director. This game has supposed to come out like it had 2 hard dates. This is supposed to come out when Ragnarok came out. Then they pushed it to March, and now it's like, we got a beta. So I don't know, man. This is really messy. It's been really messy over there.
Yeah. Did you guys talk about the beta? Because I did play through it.
How was it
that weekend? So it is effectively it's a better version of what I've played in the past, which I can't talk about due to NDA. But the beta that I did play that was out of NDA, I will say, plays and feels a lot like the Black Sails sailing part. That's effectively what it is. It's all of that with a few NPCs on islands that you go to that will kind of give you the push out the door to go out to do different things. They've got some really fun stuff in there. Like they've got like sea beasts as well as fleets that you can take on. You can party up with other crews to take those on as well. They have PvE and PvP servers separate if you're just looking to go out and do missions and stuff like that. It's going to be light on story, but I think the gameplay is interesting enough. If you love Assassin's Creed Black Flag, you will enjoy this. The fact that this game has lost its third creative director since 2013 is such a bummer, because it doesn't feel like the person that was there to really, like in 2018, to kind of reboot the creative drive for this game is satisfied. And I'm sad to see that she ended up leaving, but I think this game will come out and still find some good success. It was very popular amongst Sea of Thieves streamers the weekend that it was rolling. I know Burke Black was very happy to play it and had a lot of time with it, and was very sad to see it go. It was one of the top streamers over on Twitch, and very pirate themed stuff. So if you're into pirates, if you're into Assassin's Creed Black Flag, this will be one that if you and your friends get together and party up and get your ships together, you can go out and have a good time with it. Have some real fun, some fun excursions out on the seas. And I think they've done a good enough job doing that. I think it'll probably come out around 7, probably 8 when it comes out. It's still pretty, it's pretty solid right now.
All right. Excellent. I can't wait to see for myself.
So that brings us to the last listener question that I think we had for this week. Thank you again to everyone that wrote in. And if we missed anything, I do apologize. This question comes into us from Todd Oxtra. Says, given how long Bethesda Studio games take to develop, do you think we'll see any of their previous games, Oblivion, Morrowind, Fallout 3, remade until Elder Scrolls 6 or Fallout 5 release? I think this is a very interesting question, because I think that if this was still a independent studio like Rockstar, we would be having a much different opinion on whether or not this would happen. But Joe, what do you think is going to happen with these games? Do you think they're going to get remade?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Why do you think they're going to get remade?
Because it's going to be a long time till Elder Scrolls 6. And if I am the folks over at, Xbox Studios or Bethesda, I'm taking a look at that creative engine too, and I'm thinking, what can we do with Oblivion? What can we do with Morrowind? What can we do with Fallout? And assessing if it makes sense for these games to be remade in the new engines. But it won't be like something that like Bethesda Softworks does. It'll probably be like a second team, you know, akin to a Blue Point or wherever the heck you guys have over there. So like a Vicarious Visions, right? So like it's something along those lines. I think that's what you're gonna. It's like a smaller team that's gonna be probably working on these and making sure the games look nicer. Yeah, I definitely see this happening.
Remakes and remasters have not really been a forefront for Xbox the last few years, probably even like the last 5 years. I can't think of any off the top of my head that we've seen from past IPs, and a lot of folks have speculated that the
Gears and
of
Halo
War
collections, you know.
Was that 5 years ago though? 5 years ago was the 2018
enigma.
We kicked off. When did Halo Master Chief Collection come out? Because that was before Sea of Thieves.
No, it was before Sea of Thieves. It was, but like I wouldn't count it out. I really wouldn't.
Okay.
I think it'll happen. God knows how many times they've put Skyrim on everything. So I think this will happen.
I think I can't wait for the Alexa version of Starfield. I think that'll be really fun.
Can't wait.
Romance through my Alexa, just shout out what I want to say.
Try to impregnate my toaster. It's gonna be great.
Oh my god. So personally, I don't. I think that Xbox is focused on creating new experiences. I think they're focused on driving content that's fresh to Game Pass. I think that because Game Pass has the library and the compatibility team has done such a good job with auto HDR, with FPS improvements, things like that, that I think that there is still a lot of life in those older titles. And I think that because you have those studios working on, we know pretty much what Bethesda's working on for the next 10 years, and a lot of the other studios as well too. I think they are focused on moving forward as opposed to needing the money to supply the development of those games. I think Microsoft owning them now means a lot in the security that comes from it being Microsoft and not having to think like, crap, we need to remake Red Dead Redemption for Switch and PS4 because we need an influx of cash to be able to.
On the other end, though, I would say content's king. Making sure that you have that content on Game Pass is going to be detrimental. So it's like just keeping on like pushing out, remakes or even just like, remasters, making Oblivion look nicer. It's a good like beat to go off of just like, hey, maybe it is a slow-ish month. Like rumor has it they've been sitting on that Phoenix collection for a minute now. So like there's probably some things that they're trying to find out when's the perfect window. But if you're Microsoft and you want that everlasting gobstopper of content, you're gonna look at some of the backlog going, okay, how can I get people jazzed for Oblivion again?
I can't. I mean, so I'm now thinking about it. I see where you're coming from, and I want to amend my prior statement because I think we had talked about like the fact that they haven't done a remaster. Quake 2 just got a 4K 60 remaster that I completely let slip my mind. And honestly, like, with them bringing back some of those older titles and putting in, faster frame rates, higher resolution textures, things like that. If they want to remake Fallout 3, which I think is kind of more the one that everyone really, really loved, compared to 4, I'd be down for that, honestly. Like I'd be fine if they went back and redid it. I can see your point as far as like keeping, the hype train rolling for Bethesda while they work on those other ones and have something like if Vicarious Visions did it, that'd be fantastic. Toys for Bob, they've got a lot of skill being able to do that kind of work as well too. If the Activision Blizzard deal goes through just fine, I'd be fine with it. I just think that Phil, as much as he respects and wants to keep games preserved, I think as long as they're on Game Pass, that's good enough for him. But that doesn't take into account the fact that they just did Quake 2. So I'm of two minds at this point now, because I was originally thinking like, nah, there's no way. They're good. They got the money to keep things rolling for a while.
Yeah. Again, it really can. It could go either way.
Yeah. That is going to do it for this week. I really appreciate Joe helping me out with recording and editing this. coming on to share his opinions on Luke and his family lineage. I really
and his
appreciate
grandpa, who's known as the Desert Fox. I think that's only like he talks about. He just says the Desert Fox. Strange.
And Geppetto.
Yeah.
There's lots of weird stuff going on back then,
Really?
but Joe, thank you for joining me from the PlayStation Trophy Room, host of the PlayStation Trophy Room with Kyle Stevenson. When do you do your recordings? Where can people find the PlayStation content to hear more about how much you're playing Starfield and who you're romancing?
I want to know from the audience how different this felt. What the different energy. Did you like it? Did you like what I was offering this week? It's fine if you say no. It's okay. I won't get hurt by it. Just a little offended. No, of course, as always, my name is Joseph, aka Mr. Badbit, and you can find us record the Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast, live each and every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or you could catch the show each and every Thursday, where me and my best friend Kyle talk about the latest, the greatest in all things PlayStation, wherever you get your podcast feed of service or choice is, whether that's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, wherever you find us, you can find the show there. We are currently doing a Spider-Man PlayStation 5 DualSense giveaway. If you rate the show 5 stars over on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, I'll ship it anywhere. Name a country. Lithuania? All right, I'll ship it there. Just rate us 5 stars over at iTunes and Spotify. There you go.
I actually want that controller because I didn't buy the plates, and I'm not going to buy the D brand plates, but I do really want that controller because I don't have a backup for the main one that I still have my original PlayStation 5 controller. No drift, still working just fine.
Ooh, beautiful.
Thank you so much for joining me. If you guys want to get a hold of us over on the Xbox Expansion Pass, make sure that you search out InsipidGhost on Twitter, X, whatever it's called these days, or over on, I think it's Blue Sky, OnlyFans, Farmers Now, or Farmers, I can't remember what
Farmers
He's got
Farmers Only.
Farmers Only next to Furries Only. And make sure that you guys are liking, subscribing the video. And yeah, definitely. I mean, it's not going to be, I'm not Luke. I can't do what Luke does, but Joseph and I are here. We're wanting to get some conversation out to help make your week better. So hopefully that's the case, and hopefully you guys love me as well. If you want, you can always find me on Twitter at CAPT_LOGUN. Thank you all so much for listening, and thank you for playing Xbox and not PlayStation. Let's go.
Ooh.